Welcome, welcome. It's Shift and Steer. I am here, and so is Aaron. But he's running. He's a lap down, Aaron.
Yeah, well, he's had some struggles with that BMW. Let's hope it showed some numbers on the dyno.
Well, he's a lap down. He's going to be joining us later in the show, I think. So, but right now, we're going to get rolling, and everything's happening. You know, we just told you what's going to be on the show. We thanked our sponsor, but what we want to do, I want to get right into it. Everybody knows that we're in the middle of this weird 2020 year, and it just keeps getting weirder and weirder. And the most recent is everything's on fire.
Yeah,
I saw a map.
Literally.
I saw a map this morning, and it showed the United States, and it showed Oregon, it showed Washington, it showed California, Nevada, Idaho, Arizona, and it said there are over 100
Colorado's big
fires.
one too.
Yeah. 100 fires in the western United States right now. And I think we have about 75 of them here in California.
Yeah, actually, I think we had the vast majority of them here in California, and some actually very close to us. I think there's a fire within 15, 20 miles of us over the mountain. Thankfully, it's going a different direction, but we've been inundated with smoke, probably like you guys too in SoCal.
Oh, man.
Really bad. I mean, really,
people can't realize what it's like in LA right now because we have a fire in the Inland Empire, a huge one in the LA forest, and all of that it looks apocalyptic. Since Sunday, it's Friday now, and since Sunday, we've had a red sun. It looks like an overcast day, but everything is this strange red hue, like when you see pictures of what Mars is,
Yeah. In fact, a lot of posts on Instagram, it's hashtag Mars.
Yeah, it's weird. It's weird.
And the ash getting all over the cars too.
I know.
I have a black car. One of my cars is black, and it sits outside, unfortunately. And I actually wiped it down, and all the paint is scratched now from the last week of ash. I've tried to blow it off, but it just leaves a grime layer. I tried to wash it, but if I did wipe it dry by accident, well, not by accident, but not thinking, and it actually scratched the entire car. There's like those spider web scratches on the entire car. So ashes are slightly abrasive.
Oh yeah, and it never fails. I washed all my cars on Saturday, and then on Sunday the ash started. Then by Tuesday we had one of those mornings where it's really low, lots of humidity, lots of coming in off the ocean. So now it turned to mud ash.
You got a muddy car.
Everything's filthy.
As my friend Rick says, platinum problems, man.
Yeah.
I like that one. I've heard first world, but I hadn't heard platinum problems. Well, I like platinum problems. That's a good one.
Now, one of the bad things happening, don't get us wrong. We understand that there's a lot of problems with people losing their property, lives, animals, all of that. But we're car guys, right? So we look at the cars. And I saw online, are you familiar with Getty Images, everybody? A stock house where newspapers and magazines and other media outlets get photos, usually of stars and things like that, but it also has all current events. And they had all these images of classic cars.
Yeah.
That were lost.
And supercars.
Yeah.
Burnt to a crisp. Yeah. I mean, people are losing their ass right now. And we're probably losing some pretty special cars out there too.
Yep. I know. If you heard on the news, there was a lake up in Northern California where over 200 people were trapped. And the fire had come in, enveloped the whole area around, and they had actually told the people over radio, you may have to get in the lake to survive.
Yeah.
And they showed on the news, people had, after they got out with their cell phones and like that, people freaking out, and they, there were motorhomes there with their boats behind them. There was all kinds of campers, and they couldn't get out. There was no way to go, so they were waiting.
Yeah.
Well, finally, the National Guard came in with helicopters, landed, loaded up the people, but they couldn't take anything. And it was, they had to leave kids, animals, and all their possessions behind. Okay, so not kids and animals.
You mean goats, kids, goats?
Yeah. Got a dog with you. Don't know. But
yeah, it's crazy. It's funny. I had a dream that when all that was going on, I had a dream about we were overlanding in our Land Rover, and I had to drive it into the lake because I was obsessed with keeping the Land Rover and not abandoning it. So I drove it into this lake that was shallow, and I drove it as far out as I could and left it idling. And I'm looking, going, how much fuel? How long can I leave it idling so I don't stall out the motor and suck in water? Because we can go pretty deep in the Land Rover because electronics have been raised out of the seat hole, and it's got a air intake, and all the axles are vented.
Does it have an ash hole?
Yeah, right.
Hey, there's Matt. Yeah. We'll bring Matt in, let him join the conversation. But yeah, and the he's connecting, and he'll get his video going. But there he is. Hey, Matt.
Hello.
We are talking about ash holes.
Yeah.
we're talking about the fires and the vehicles that were lost. I was just telling Aaron about Getty Images showed a bunch of images of classic cars. One of them was that lake where all the people had to be helicoptered out. They went back, and all the cars are lost. But they showed one in particular. It was funny you said it, Aaron, because it was a Land Rover, and it burnt to a crisp. Just the steel frame. The trailer was still behind it that the boat was on. The outboard motor was laying on the ground. Everything else was gone. The fiberglass had just melted. It was just a puddle underneath the trailer. And
Land Rovers are aluminum, so the aluminum is a low temp metal, so it probably melted off and just left, like you said, the metal framework.
Yeah, it was just the metal frame. That's all it was. And
the big puddle of aluminum, or aluminium.
As always, that kind of stuff happens. But did you pull good dyno numbers, Matt?
I did.
Matt had his BMW over on the dyno.
Yes, as you guys know, the M3 has been a project for a while. The 2001 E46 M3 that I got from Adam Carolla, a project for a while, but I'm moving on and I'm getting ready to sell it. So
I'm moving on, man.
Okay, do we get to guess numbers?
Yes, we will. So
okay.
I wanted to get the car I get it all detailed up, get everything really kind of in top-notch order. I really want to make sure the car is going to be good for somebody else. And we did a lot on it. We fixed all the cooling issues, and our buddy David Jusko is such a freak when it comes down to the details. So when we pulled the computer out, he just went through, and every wire now is just perfect. Any little bit of corrosion for sitting for years, every repinned everything, just fantastic. The amount of work we put into it. And one of the things we did notice at the time, this is the same car, by the way, that I went out on a date and the supercharger seized up, so that cost $4,000, and so I got the new Vortex supercharger for it. We upgraded to the V2 Ti supercharger, so it was a very small upgrade, but the intake tube coming off of it was basically like brake duct tubing with flex hose. It was kind of kinked and smashed, and it just didn't look like you'd be able to get any type of mandrel bent intake tube in there. And Dave was convinced he could make it happen, so he just bought a bunch of pieces and various angles of stainless steel, made it work, ended up welding everything together.
Wow.
So now I've got this perfect mandrel bend, basically no kinks, stainless steel intake tube going to the K&N filter, which is mounted down low, kind of behind the front bumper cover, but it's got the CSL bumper cover where there's that one vent on the side that goes right. So just scooping up cold air, like true cold air.
Okay, enough of that.
The whole thing.
Let's hear about the dyno numbers.
All right,
man.
so
no, okay, so if we can guess, so don't tell us.
I have a guess too,
because Brad and I have to guess.
Okay, it was on a Mustang dyno. It was on a Mustang dyno once before my initial number, like 2 years ago, and this was a dyno jet. And the dyno jet usually is a little bit more favorable. But that being said, go ahead. What do you think?
Okay, so now you have an intake. You have engine work done on that?
It's a built motor. It's lower compression. It's
Light
got
flywheel.
forged pistons, and the new ACT clutch and a light flywheel.
Okay. So that's a 333 stock motor with the S54, right?
Yeah,
and
it's 3.2.
Yeah, 3.2, 333. So I would say conservatively with a supercharger original kits, they're running about 4. I'd say with all your work done, I'm going to say 465.
Okay.
That's weird, Aaron, because I wrote it down so that people wouldn't think I was influenced by you.
Yeah.
467.
467.
Now, I took it based on the color of the car too.
Oh yeah, well,
and I'm taking it on a conservative tune because you drive it.
Yes, and it's a 91 octane tune.
Right,
and it's fine. Now, we had some trouble getting the DynoJet to read the computer in the car, so I don't have like the boost numbers and things like that. And there was a slight correction on the screen in horsepower number to the printout. It's just in the software did a little correction. Not enough horsepower to make the difference, but 494 horsepower at the tires.
My first guess was 491. I should have won.
494, actually.
496,
wow,
but I thought
job,
no BMW is going to do 496.
It's funny you said 491 because 494 on the screen and the printout is 489. It's basically 490.
Wow, but I didn't think you'd put that much in it as a daily driver. But good job.
Yeah,
Wow.
490
That's
horsepower. Basically, between the 489 and the 494, 490 horsepower
That's
at the tires. Feel good. It scoots, good. Man. That car, it's funny because Dave and I, we started getting it dialed in and get the cooling and everything issues worked. And when we were done, we were like, this car feels fast. This car feels faster than it ever was before. And I don't know if the M3s back in that era, the E46, was able to pull timing, in regards to heat. But it kind of felt like once the cooling issues were figured out, then the car wasn't struggling to deal with heat. And keep in mind that on this dyno, on an E46 M3, the 1-to-1 gear is 5th. And in 5th gear, at 8,000 RPM, you're doing 180 miles an hour on the dyno. You're basically hauling ass. So the dyno is loud. It was scary. This car was like hauling ass. So we tried to do
whole idea is scary. Doing 180 static on a dyno. That's
Now this dyno, by the way, this dyno is badass. It's in a dyno cell. It's an in-ground unit. It's a full rolling wind tunnel dyno. So although the car is rear wheel drive, the front wheels are on rollers as well and rolling with the car, right? So the whole thing is moving. So all of the speed sensors and things like that and traction control and all that would work. Also, I think the way they have it set up is that's also a 4-wheel drive dyno because these guys tune a bunch of Porsche turbos.
Yeah, and you got to have everything going. Yeah.
Yeah. So, and it's a wind tunnel dyno. So there's a giant fan and there's air moving through, and it kind of simulates what's really going on. It's not like something kind of outdoor on a lift with a fan in front of it. Those are fine. It's just, this was a little bit more complex. So listen, 490 horsepower
That's massive.
out of a supercharged M3, and nothing exploded.
Well, Matt, you don't do anything halfway. You don't do anything with a Harbor Freight parts list. So
no, I don't. Thank God we don't. And most of all, the straps holding down the car were not from Harbor Freight.
My point exactly.
Guys,
We're not from Harbor
you
Freight.
know our new sponsor is
Harbor Freight.
Hey, that's okay. Use it once, throw it away.
Listen, there is a safety. There is another sort of factor to the Harbor Freight thing, by the way, because my brother, you guys have met him. My brother Dennis works on boats in Florida. When he was working on cars, huge snap-on tool chest, $100,000 worth of tools. But when you're working on boats, he's like, I just buy ratchets and shit from Harbor Freight. They work fine, and every time I drop them in the water, I don't have to dive down into the bottom of a marina to figure out how I lost a $75 ratchet. He's like, it's fine. Yeah. And he goes,
what if they do that in space?
I don't know.
Maybe he should just come up with a little thing that goes around his wrist, so when he drops it, it just drops to here, yeah?
Like in space.
Yeah, like in space, tethered it. So anyway,
Matt,
good numbers.
Yeah, great numbers.
That's great numbers.
Great
now,
number.
You need to sell the car before it's wrecked or stolen.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, I'm fully loaded on my insurance, so I'm good to go. By the way, 484 pound-feet of torque.
Wow, Matt, that's impressive. Now I had to say, mine only had a little bit of work done. You know, I got rid of my 46 and bought a E36 track car designated, but I had a little tune on mine, which was running about 350 maybe max. And I got to say, that felt fast. You took me for a ride in yours. I don't remember what it was doing. We were having some trouble with yours that day, I think, with the battery, but it felt fast then. So I could only imagine that it really feels good. That's a really, you know, I have to say, I agree with so many of the car world saying that the E46 is one of the great drivers, not only of its era, but in general. It really is. It doesn't feel dated. You know, some of the displays feel dated, but, you know, the orange dot matrix, but man, it drives good. It smells good. It sounds good. It's really, I miss my car. You know, I have to say, I really do.
You know, I
know of
jumped
one
on.
that's going to be for sale, Aaron.
Yeah, if you want.
Way out of my price range.
If you want one, it's good. So I jumped on the, just for reference, I jumped on some of the E46 forums, and there's plenty of conversations about what guys are getting rear wheel horsepower to a generally stock car. And I'm sure fuel, octane, and where they're located and guys are saying 279, 285, 271, 287. So
horsepower?
That's rear wheel horsepower.
Wow.
Stock,
that's low.
Right? So, you know, they're rated at 333. So if you're making 285 or so, 280 at the tires, it kind of makes a little bit of sense. And
especially on a car that's, you know, got 100-something thousand miles in it by now.
Yeah. So we're making a full on 200, maybe 210 extra horsepower at the tires with this configuration. So that's
another car.
It's an animal. I'll tell you that for sure. It's an animal, but by no means was it easy to get there.
Yeah.
It cost a lot of money and a lot of headaches, and that's it. I guess the good point of the upside of having a car that's broken for 15 years is
it's low mileage.
Is low mileage, right?
Low mileage,
it's literally got 26,000 miles on it. I think it's got 26,300 miles on it, and it just it runs like like a bat out of hell. So
Well, it's a premium
Awesome.
car. It's beautiful, and I'm sure you have some good rubber underneath it because with that kind of horsepower, you need to hook it up.
I do. I got the Michelin Pilot Super Sports on it.
Yeah,
But
good.
the also good news that came up this week is, for some reason, after waiting like almost a year between deals and pandemic and everything else, both Bowler transmissions and Dart engines called me today, or called me this past week, and said your stuff's on the way. So for the Ford Lightning, the Bowler transmission is on the way, and the Dart all aluminum 427 short block is on the way with the heads, but we're assembling the rest here.
Okay, well, let's
but they
not
did
go
the head.
down that dark hole because that's a whole nother show.
It is another show,
We
but
got
also
other stuff to talk about today.
Also, what that meant was both companies, after waiting a year, said, you owe me money. So this is a very expensive week. Very, very expensive week.
Well,
Yeah, but
good
you're a
luck
baller,
with-
man. Come on.
well,
This
good luck
week.
with the M3. I think you going private, or are you going to bring a trailer? I know you mentioned.
If Bring a Trailer will take it, I would love to list it there. Mostly because so many people from fans of Shift and Steer and CarCast and whatnot have said, please let me know. I'd like a shot at it, and I think Bring a Trailer would be the best way to make it.
Yeah, cool. Well, good luck
He
with
was
that.
on
I'll
the phone
definitely
to me
watch
the
it.
other night, Aaron, and he was going, "Show me the money."
Yeah. What are you selling, Brad?
I'm not selling anything at the moment.
He's selling
but-
monkey condoms.
This week, I went out, and this is a whole nother subject, guys. I had to go out to the holding yard where my boat is because I settled up with insurance, and so
I hope you went out there with a cherry picker and a pickup truck.
I had
Pop
to go.
that engine out.
They won't let me. So, but I went out there to get all my personal stuff out of the boat because when it left,
Including the engine.
Yeah, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah. It's just But it opened my eyes, man. This is one company. They have 10 yards throughout LA Metro. And I go out there and I went, this is one of 10 yards. There were thousands of cars, every shape, every style, everything you could imagine. And so I go out, and I got to go out into the yard, went onto my boat, got all my personal stuff, and, gave it a last look. But then I looked around, and whole bunch of motorhomes that didn't have roofs on them. You know what that was? And they pull into the gas station and a whole bunch of those square box trucks the same way.
Yeah.
Then there was like a yard over to the side of the Amazon Mercedes vans. There was probably 20
the
of
Sprinters.
them. And wrecked in every shape and style you can imagine,
Wow.
And then you guys saw the photo that I posted on the Shift and Steer of the Hellcat, where it had been hit in the ass, and the front end was just destroyed, and it was this hilarious sight because it looked like somebody started to pull the motor and then just dropped it, and the motor's like sitting halfway out, the shaker scoop sitting in front of that, and it looked like it'd been hit in the ass and spit the motor out the front.
Yeah.
But when I say there was everything, there was a 62 Cadillac DeVille, candy paint, slammed on billet wheels, and I was like, wow, that looks like a nice car. I get closer, and it wasn't a vinyl roof. It was a sizzled roof, and everything around every window was singed, and, it had an interior fire. Glass was all burnt out. Everything was gone.
But how long did you actually pause there and say, I could probably fix this before you walked
I
away?
was like, this is an easy fix, man. Wonder how much I could get this for.
You went out there to salvage up settle up on the boat, and probably called Charlotte and said, the boat thing worked out, but I got $10,000 worth of trash and car parts in the back of the truck. This is why you roll around in an SUV. You keep saying it's for the wheel company, but it's not. It's
No,
every time you hit the junkyard.
I called Charlotte and I said, hey, babe, there's going to be a transporter showing up with 3 cars. Just move your truck out of the driveway. No, but one of the cars I saw, some of them are so sad because it was a brand new 911 Cabriolet, white, beautiful, like tobacco colored interior with a tobacco top.
Wow.
And it didn't even have plates on it. It had the paper plates, you know? And I'm pulling up to it. I walk around and I go, this thing looks like it's perfect. Except for the rear bumper was on top of the roof. But I walk around and I even looked at that and you could see it was rear-ended, but the hood wasn't bent. The whale tail that comes up wasn't bent.
Wow.
Nothing. But all I could think of was when it got banged in the back, it must have pushed the transaxle forward.
Yeah,
or something.
extensive frame damage.
Yeah, and you can't see it. But you just look at that and you go, some guy got his car or woman and was like, yeah, I'm driving home, man. And bam, and some dude and totaled. So it got
and
me
some
thinking
dude in an Amazon van just rear-ended him.
Yeah, it's probably one of the Amazon, maybe that Challenger.
Yeah. Did one of the Amazon vans have a bunch of white on the front of it?
Yeah.
But every shape and style of car you can imagine. It was a sea of Hondas. But it got me thinking. And so I started doing some research and Googling around. How many car accidents do you think we have every year in America?
Oh, gosh. I couldn't even say. I would say.
Wild guess.
I mean,
150,000.
I mean, but I don't know what that means because like fender bender, or do you mean enough to end up in a junkyard?
No,
like
car accidents. Just car accidents.
Just every little reported car accident.
Right. I looked at the insurance ratings.
Yeah. It's got to be 10 million.
Yeah.
6 million.
Yeah.
Holy hell.
But here's a number that'll blow you away. Then I looked at how many are totaled because every car in this holding yard was a total. Every vehicle. Yeah. There was also an area of motorcycles too. I mean, there was a sea of motorcycles. The totals in America every year, 5 million.
I was going to say it's probably pretty high.
Really?
So of 6 million accidents, 5 million are totals.
I was going to guess maybe half, but I had no idea.
I know, it blew me away.
Wow.
And, so it's billions of dollars in loss every year to car accidents. And now the totals also include, because I kind of went down that rabbit hole, the totals also included things such as theft, where they're stripped beyond, repair.
Right.
Yeah,
surgically stripped. Yeah.
So I'm sure there's some, but then I looked into classic cars. And classic cars, it was actually lower than I thought. In LA Metro, there were 350 cars stolen last year that are classified as classic cars. And that kind of blew me away. I thought it'd actually be more. And it said that the majority of those cars by the Insurance Institute said that they are stolen to order. Gone in 60 seconds, guys.
Wow.
And so it makes you realize because they're not just like a couple guys going, hey, let's joyride this 70 Chevelle. They said these thieves go to car shows, go to Cars and Coffee, and they are looking for particular cars and they said the vast majority of them are stolen and put in a container and sent overseas, which made me realize, I've told you guys the story of when I had that brand new Mercedes SL, had one of the first ones in town, had it all lowered, it was black and bad, and it got stolen from a restaurant, and the cops told me, I said, well, you think you'll find it? And he said, thing's already in Long Beach in a container by now. And that's what they do. We're in a city where they get hustled down to the docks and put right in a container. And makes you think about when you take one of your cars to a Cars and Coffee and some stranger comes up and is asking you all about it. And, hey, what part of town you from, Matt? Hey, you keep it at home? In the driveway with your keys in it? You know, I mean.
Luckily, most of my other shit barely runs, if at all.
Well, that's my thing. I never take them anywhere because they don't run anyway. So
yeah.
But you know, it said some of the tips on, first of all, which is just normal. You want to be aware of your situation and of people asking you things. If you go to a restaurant or something like that, park your car where you can see it and where it's visible. It's not back in some, you know, place where you're not going to see it a lot. And I bet you guys can too. Have you thought of taking one of your cars, or think of your Lightning, Matt? You take it somewhere and you park it and you think, oh man, I'll come back later, you know? And, you know, I've thought about, wow, maybe I shouldn't have parked my car there.
You know, my first 93 Cobra that I bought in 93, you know, we did some mods on it, and we did a lot of, in South Florida at the time, a lot of car shows and Mustang meetups and Friday night thing. And it really just got to be like, you knew everybody's cars and whatnot. And then just one night that car was stolen right out of our driveway. Like, they knew exactly what they were doing. They clipped the alarm horn and left it on my driveway for me, and then took the car.
Just like the fuck you, right?
It is worthless.
And, you know, Florida's a little different. It didn't end up in a container and shipped away. It got stripped. Immediately it was stripped. And then, you know, after like a month, the insurance company calls and is like, yeah, we got your car. And I'm standing there. I'm like, well, where is it? They're like, it's right in front of you. So what they were doing is they were stealing cars, stripping the cars, and a way for them to sort of basically like close the case on the car is they make it findable. You know, it's the scene in Godfather when he walks in the restaurant and shoots the cop and shoots the guy in the head, and then drops the gun and walks away, right? So what they do is they strip your car, then they take that unibody, like where the doors are, and they cut it in half and kind of stack it together so they can grab like a panel truck, like you were talking about, like a U-Haul, and they can stack in there the unibody shells of like 4 or 5 cars, because they're just kind of cut in half, and then they'll just go out to an empty lot someplace and dump them all out the back of a truck, and then they get found, you know. Although I always questioned it, because the impound lot, you know, that the cops work with that had this, it was guarded more than like Fort Knox. You walk in, it's all bulletproof glass, and there's buzzers on the doors. I'm like, hey, if you guys are just like a salvage yard, why is there cameras everywhere and I can't go in? And I was like, what are the chances you guys strip my car?
Yeah.
Like, I'm sick of people telling us that. I was like, well, maybe you're doing it. Maybe that's why you're doing it. But yeah, my car's stolen right out of my driveway, Brad. Just woke up in the morning. Alarm doesn't do shit.
Here's one of the problems that I have said, whether it is a house, a business, or a car. We're not thieves. We don't think like thieves, and we don't sit there, and these guys are smart. And it's like we had a
yourself, Brad.
What's that?
Speak for yourself.
Yeah. We had a guy at Boyd's who had one of his hot rods parked in his driveway. He parked a car next to it. It had a block wall on the other side, and he put his tow rig behind it, his dually. And he said, I felt like it was safe. Well, you know what they did? The next morning when he came out, his tow rig was across the street, And like you said, they cut his alarm or your alarm. What
Yeah.
they did on that truck was they crawled underneath it, took a bolt cutter and clipped the automatic transmission cable so they could just go chink, chink, neutral, pushed it, let it roll across the street, and then they took the car. And again, another
creative.
one of the tips from the insurance companies is make it inconvenient as possible, which is, I don't know about you guys, but I still use clubs because I figure like if there's a club on the steering wheel, they're going to go to the next car, no matter what it is, you know? So if I park one of my cars at the airport or something like that, I put a club on it because I figure if my car's sitting there with a club on it, they're going to go to the next one. And with my classic cars, I bought years ago. Do you guys remember Beverly Hills Motoring Accessories? They made they made their own club, and where the brand club used to, you know, expand across the steering wheel, they made a really cool one that goes, it has a loop that goes around your brake pedal.
Yeah, I've seen
Then
those.
it comes up and has a loop that goes through your steering wheel. And it has, you know, a cylinder lock key. And I bought like 3 of those. And they're awesome because on a car that you don't want to scratch up or have anything, like I've got an anodized billet steering wheel, you don't want to mess it up. Those are great ones. Plus they're inconspicuous at a car show because it kind of blends in, you know?
Yeah. Now, I hate to burst your bubble, but the problem with that is a set of bolt cutters, easy, clip the steering wheel, everything pulls right off. And now I was just at the dyno shop and the guys had like some 20-year-old Toyota minivan, and they brought it into the shop because somebody went underneath and stole the catalytic converter. They haven't even noticed for days because they rarely use it. And the point is not only are thieves rolling around with Sawzalls now because they're battery powered, you know, when they go to steal a car, you're thinking, well, how many of them rolling around with bolt cutters? They are rolling around with Sawzalls because they're stealing catalytic converters, they're stealing cars. You just hit that steering wheel, you're super easy. You're not going to cut that club, but the steering wheel is going to be pretty easy. Right?
I've got a billet steering wheel though. It's solid billet. But
so
no,
it'll take a second.
What it comes down to is the fact that if you're at a show or you're somewhere where there's other cars and there's a 70 Chevelle sitting here and a 71 here and that one's got a club on it and that one doesn't, they might go, we're going to go for the one without the club because all we have to do is pull the cylinder and go, you know.
Sure. Yeah.
But, you know, so it's deterrent. It's deter them. Put wheel blocks underneath. You know, bring your own boot and make it look like the cops just booted.
Hey, you know, the catalytic converter thing's really interesting, Matt. I was at my friend's muffler shop. Yeah, I was at my friend's muffler shop because David Borlas sent me a nice exhaust system for one of my cars, and so I brought it down there to get it installed. And that's all he has right now in Priuses, of all things. Priuses are it. I remember last year or 2 years ago it was Toyota trucks, and now
a lot of like CRVs and RAV4s.
Yeah,
because they sell a million of them and they're easy to slide under without a jack.
Well, that's why trucks were
slide under.
Yeah, but I mean, since in the time that I was there most of the day because it was very, very busy. He's got a busy shop in Sacramento. I think 4 or 5 Priuses, like drive-ups.
Yeah.
You know, you wouldn't imagine how loud a Prius
you
gets.
can lift them with one hand and then cut it with the
other.
No,
but I mean, it's a real thing. He says, what, I don't know, I'm not going to quote him, but a huge percentage of his business a month is just those things. I mean, that's crazy. It's crazy.
And unfortunately, they've shot through the roof. I had a conversation with, you know, our friend Rich Waiters about that from MagnaFlow, because rare earth materials that they use for them are hard to get right now from China. Catalytic converters have shot up. And Matt, what you were saying, an older pickup truck, 80s and 90s vehicles, they want the catalytic converters out of those even more because there's more platinum in them than the new.
Oh man.
And
it's expensive to replace those factories. I mean, they're thousands and thousands of dollars for one of those.
My Yukon was $1,500.
Yeah, that's nuts.
Like,
you figure, and you figure something like a Prius, they must have quite a few, because more than another vehicle, a Prius, you know, being a hybrid, probably has quite a few more catalytic converters. You know, some of them have 2, 4, you know, more. I don't know. You know?
No, it's horrible.
Single or dual exhaust.
Back to theft deterrents, guys. Now I've told you this story before.
Rottweilers.
Back at Boyd's, we used to hide what we called a dead man switch. So they were always in different areas. One of the best things you can do for any car, because if you put it where you know it and nobody else does, it can be as simple as, you know, your cigarette lighter has a micro switch behind it. But we used to do weird things like the ashtray. You know, they were on a pivot. And when you open the ashtray, it would mash a micro switch that would complete the connection. So as long as the ashtray was down, the car would start. And then once it started, you put it back up. But there's a bunch of other areas you could hide a switch at and make it something that nobody would ever think of. And that's a great way, because if they're not going to load it on a flatbed or something like that, that's a great way to do it.
Well, I'll tell you that the Morgan's great because the steering wheel comes off.
Yeah. Now,
pull the
keep
steering
in mind,
wheel off, walk away. You can leave the keys in it if you want.
I agree. The switch on the ignition system, fuel pump, something like that would work, but you know, that's not always the case. Like up here, a friend of ours, Robert Angelo, a film production guy, he had I believe it was a Porsche. I forgot which Porsche. It could have been 911. And they took his car. He lives up in the hills, and they took the car and they just rolled it down the hill onto a trailer.
Oh yeah.
And that's it. They never even started it. So the switch wouldn't have done anything. They just got in it, put it in neutral, and roll it down onto a trailer, and that was it. And
then you have a line lock. You have a line lock switch.
Right.
No, but you know what? LoJack still is around. I have that on 2 of my cars.
Yeah, me too.
And people don't think about it for classic cars, but if you run out and you find out your car's gone, you can call them, and if they can locate it, they're going to go get it. And that's one of the best things, because if it's in a container down in Long Beach, you might be able to run down there with the police and go, yes, it's on that ship headed to Thailand. And, you know, there you go. At least you know what country it went to. But
so it's funny that came up. So the other thing, the discussion with, I think it was with Haggerty at the time, is they're pretty good at trying to locate vehicles. So I do believe Robert did have a LoJack on his Porsche, his classic Porsche. And what the thieves do is they will take your car, let's say from LA, they'll go to somewhere central California, you know, a couple hundred miles away, Fresno, something like that. And they'll drop the car in like a Walmart parking lot.
Right. And see if any.
And then they'll wait to see if anybody is coming to track the car. Meanwhile, a good insurance company and cops, they sit there and they wait to see if anybody else is sitting there to wait to see if anybody's going to come and get the car. And now it's just sort of a game of patience, like who's going to go approach the car first. I feel like this is somehow like a Get Shorty, or you know, the end of that movie where they're all standing there at the lockers in the bus station or airport, and they're seeing who gets the bag. It's a little bit of that game, that shell game that they're doing.
Oh, that's funny.
I had a girlfriend in high school I dropped at a Walmart once. She found her way home though.
Oh, that's why you got to drive to Fresno.
I didn't take her far enough.
Yeah, you didn't take her far enough.
Now here's something really disappointing is, you know, they say the older the car, the easier the ignition is and like that. And now this is really disappointing because if you Google keys, if you Google master keys or keys that will open anything on Amazon, did you know that you can buy keys? There is a collection.
Well, we do now, Brad. Jeez.
Well, I know, but I heard this on another podcast. A guy, he was one of those urban explorers, right? And he was telling the story of how he got into this super secure facility over in England and got arrested. He literally popped his head up. Yeah, you've seen in movies like Tom Cruise movies or something where there's a false floor and they pop their head up and they're in some computer room, right? He said he actually did that. He said he popped his head up and he moved the tile aside and he goes, he was in some government like white room and all of a sudden all these automatic cameras like pivoted right towards him and he goes, oh shit, and got arrested. Well, the guy was asking him, who was interviewing him, said, you know, there was this big, you know, it was 100 feet below, down through the subway tunnels. And he goes, but how do you get through all these doors? And he goes, oh, on Amazon, you can buy these key collections that'll open anything. And I'm like, really? So I Google it, of course. There's a collection that says it'll open, it'll start any type of heavy equipment that you have. Caterpillar, you know, Case, and it's just this key ring of keys. Then there's one for cars. Then there's one for homes. So talk about the thieves. They know this. Oh, I'm going to break in.
We'll talk about the FBI that's watching this.
They buy the quick set collection, you know. There was one that said, well, here's a key to Aaron Hagar's house. And here's a key to Aaron Hagar's shop. So, no, but it's scary as hell because the internet has put this kind of stuff out there, you know, to where some guy just, there was one, think of this. I have a shoebox in my garage.
With shoebox?
With probably 200 master lock keys. And, you know, they all have a 4-digit number on them, right?
Right.
Well, way back, when I was running the American Bicycle Association, we had a master lock on every BMX track in America. And I had the master key ring because whenever we'd show up somewhere, somebody had to have the keys. We had the master one at work, and then I ended up with the extra key because you had 2 to every lock. And if one key ring got like, well, anyways, I ended up with them. And they've come in handy over the years. You lose a key, I'd go to that box, I'd look and I go, 4205. Here's one. There you go. Well, now you can go to Amazon and buy a master lock key ring, and they're not expensive. It's like $14.95, and it says every key you need to open any master lock. So, guys, you got a lock on the back of your car trailer, or you've got, and you think, I'm secure, man. No, you're not. So that's what's scary. So I think what Shift and Steer
Rottweiler
is we're going to start hiring out as automotive security guards. And, you know, you got a car show, we'll stand next to your car. No, it's scary, though, isn't it?
Yeah. I'm telling
because
you, Rottweilers
people want what you have and what you've worked hard for. That's really what it comes down to.
Well, that's why we pay the racket of insurance companies. Speaking of which, sponsored by.
Protect your cars, don't wreck them. And I guess what you want to do is you want to be like Jimmy Johnson, right? Go right from NASCAR and jump in an Indy car. Did you guys hear about that?
Jeez, lucky man.
But he's also going to race NASCAR. Select dates. Did you guys hear about that Jimmy Johnson is teaming with Chip Ganassi to go IndyCar racing, and it'll be him and Scott Dixon on the same team?
Really?
No, that's interesting.
Just announced, and they're going to allow him to race select NASCAR races as well. So if there's not a IndyCar event, I guess he'll be in a NASCAR, which is going to be pretty unique. Has there been anybody else doing that?
No, but forgive me, I forgot his name. Smoke.
Oh, yes. Smoke.
He does a lot
I
of
can picture him in my head.
yeah. He does a lot of racing, and he's
He does
done
a lot
that
of
thing
dirt
where he's
track
done like
stuff, though.
yeah, but he's done a lot. He's done a lot of like 2 events in one day kind of thing,
Oh, yeah.
like race an event and then get in a helicopter or a private plane, go someplace, get to the next
Jeez.
track, and then race again. And
Robbie Gordon. Robbie Gordon used to race IndyCar because when you said that, Matt, he would jump because I used to sponsor his car, my watch company.
yeah,
He would jump from IndyCar and like land, put his helmet on, and jump in the NASCAR. You know?
Jeez. So he did it too. Wow.
yeah. But I was thinking of Tony Stewart.
Tony Stewart, yes. But I was saying that's another guy who did IndyCar and NASCAR, and
That's impressive because that's so taxing. I can imagine that is so hard on your body and mind to, yeah. Not that they're separate, but
No, but I know what they feel like. There was this one time where we recorded an entire podcast and Brad didn't hit record, and we had to do the whole thing again. So we had to do 2 in one day, and it was the same thing. Do you guys remember that?
yeah.
I
Which
don't.
time?
Remember the 4 or 5 times we've done that? So it's almost exactly the same.
The hidden message for all of our listeners is when you go, gosh, it's like deja vu, or when we say something like, didn't we just talk about this recently? Didn't you know that we're doing the show twice?
Or if we're just burning through topics like it's rehearsed.
The producer forgot to hit the record button. I don't know who would do that. But, oh my goodness.
Killing me. Are we almost out of time? Or are we losing
Yeah,
this?
we're coming up on the 5-minute whistle.
Can I talk about my favorite series ever?
Yeah.
So
6 minutes to do it.
So do you guys remember Ewan McGregor and Charlie Borman when they did Long Way Round on the adventure bikes before GoPros, before like comm systems and helmets, and then they did Long Way Down. Now they have a new series debuting on Apple TV on the 18th of this month, Long Way Up, where they start in Argentina and they do the Americas all the way up to Alaska on electric Harley Davidsons. And you know what their chase vehicles are or were?
Gas-powered Harley Davidsons?
Rivian.
Oh, Rivian.
Rivian, they had 2, and they were all prototypes. So the Harleys, what are they called? They're the
live wires.
The live wires. So
That's some adventure shit when you're taking, prototypes.
Yeah.
And they were prototypes, and then the Rivians were prototypes too. I can't wait to watch this because, we've all talked about the lack of infrastructure in America. Could you imagine the lack of infrastructure through Latin America?
Yeah, right?
Central
Have
America.
you guys seen an electric bike, a street bike, on the streets yet?
Yes. But
yes.
The what's it called? Zero?
Yeah, the Zeros.
I've seen those. Yeah, I've seen a few of
saw
those
one last
around here.
Weird. I saw one on Sunday. It didn't even make hardly any
Into the
noise.
chain.
He's coming towards me. It looked like a regular bike, and
and you're going, and you're scratching your ear going, huh?
Yeah, it's weird.
Well, you hear the tires and you hear the chain, you hear the gear, But yeah, so I've been watching some interviews. They, of course, are hitting it up like they've had the best time ever. But it's a great series. If you haven't seen it, it kind of started the craze of adventure motorcycling. I think all of us can say that is a true statement. Starting with the Long Way Down, I don't know, 20 years ago, I guess, and Long Way Round 12 years after that. And it's a cool series. I think you can find them on Netflix or all over YouTube, but this one's going to be on Apple TV on Friday, and I'm really excited. So as soon as we're done with the show, I'm going to go binge. So
there you go.
It is funny you bring that up, Aaron, because last weekend I recreated the Long Way Down. And you didn't know that? You got that look on your face like you didn't know that.
Oh, I'm waiting for the punchline as usual.
No, I was up on a ladder and I took a wrong step. I took the long way down.
Yeah.
I'll run my little finger around in circles like this.
So anyways, that's it for today. And, hey, thanks everybody. As always, please go to iTunes, give us a 5-star rating, leave us a comment, and good, bad, otherwise, suggestions, somebody you want to see. And you can find me, Bradley_Fanshaw on iTunes. No, you can't. On Instagram. On Instagram. And Matt, how about you, buddy?
You'll find me at Moderator. I'll put together a little bit of a dyno video. I got a short clips from the BMW. So check it out.
Cool.
Aaron?
You can find me, Aaron Hagar, all over social media, and the Rat Runners Garage on is my website. But thank you again for listening too, because through this year it's been rough on friendships and staying in touch, and you guys give us another reason for us 3 friends to knock each other around every Friday. So thank you for that.
And thank you for Zoom, because God, this has been so great, the way we can see each other.
Yeah.
We're not in the studio, so it's been awesome. And it's given us, like we said, these Zoom sessions go up on our Facebook page and on our YouTube page. And we're almost caught up, guys. As of this weekend, we will be current with our shows. And so when you hear them, the following week, they will be up on YouTube and on Facebook. So thanks, everybody. We appreciate it. Shift and Steer. We're out of here.
Thanks.